Smartphone season is already heating up, and to start the year off, it's a big bang already with one of the major phone releases of the year. Are you thinking about upgrading your phone? Well, you should really hang in on this video as we talk about the brand new S22 Ultra. This is essentially the Note 22, but is called the S22 Ultra now. So in reference to all the Note line or notes that we've heard in the past, that has been eliminated. Samsung is putting all their eggs into either the S line or the Fold line or Flip line of phones, the Z Fold, Z Flip stuff. So they've combined a couple of their product lines into one. You still have the S line, which is you have two phones, a smaller one and a more plus size, bigger screen, but the Ultra now has transformed into that Note series. So what does that give you? Well, this year, finally, we get the placement of putting the pin inside a housing, just like it used to be with the Notes. So if you had last year's, there were a lot of complaints about the placement or location of the S Pen. This has been one of my biggest gripes with 21 Ultra and even the Fold is there's no housing for the actual pen. And sure, it seems like a minuscule thing, but trying to find somewhere to actually place that pen, you know, loosely in your pocket where you're probably going to lose it, especially when these pens are this size. They're pretty small, you know, they're not that big. Having that housing now for it is very big consideration, and I'm so happy that Samsung did this time around and brought that back. And hopefully, rumors are looking like if you're holding out for the Fold line, hopefully the Fold 4 will do the same thing. So that's one of the big things with the S22 is actually housing the pen again. And one of the other benefits that comes with that is the detection with it being housed and using Bluetooth and activating the pin once it releases is air gestures and primarily off-screen memo. I really love on the Note series the off-screen. So what was lost prior to this new Note, I mean S22 Ultra, was the option to just pop your pen out and then the screen come on and start writing. This was very handy in situations where in my line of work, a lot of times I'll be in a meeting or something or stopped from one meeting to the next and need to jot down some notes real quick and I have my phone with me. That's when this was a perfect situation where I could just pop it out, the screen would come on, I would start writing, I'd have my notes for me. So I'm so glad that that is back as well. That's a huge benefit over last year's models because that feature wasn't there. All you could do was then unlock your phone, open the app, open the Samsung Notes app, and then start writing. You know, in most cases, if you're sitting down or something, that is great. But on the fly notes, that was something I really forgot I missed when the Note line went away. So kudos to Samsung. Thank you so much for bringing that back. That's probably, honestly, for me, one of the biggest things with this year's model. But there's way more than just that. So we can see that the camera line has changed some. It used to be a housing that curved around the edge of the phone. Now instead it's individual lenses. Might be your preference, you like last year's where there was an actual divot, or you might like this better. Only thing I would complain about this route over last year's is some case manufacturers just went the easy route and just cut out a notch around this whole thing, and then the camera protection is not that great. So make sure when you're looking for cases, find an actual case that actually took the time to actually do cutout notches around each lens to help protect or give a little protection above the lenses, so if you drop your phone on the lenses, it's not scratching the lenses. So you get several cameras with the Ultra. You actually get 4 cameras and then the front camera as well, so technically I guess you get 5. So you get a 108 megapixel main, you get a 12 megapixel wide, you get a 10 megapixel with 3x zoom, and then you get another 10 megapixel with 10x zoom. This still has the super zoom. Essentially it's digital zoom after that, but you can go from like past 10x, you can go 20, 30, and even up to 100x. One thing they've done to actually make that quite a bit better, because you know, once you get into that much digital zoom, it's going to be very grainy. But I will say Samsung did a lot better effort by making it lock on a subject, and the viewfinder that you get, you actually get a picture-in-picture essentially viewfinder, but it actually shows you like a locked-in grid of what it's trying to lock onto, and you can actually tap that and lock on and then hit your picture after it's locked on. I would highly recommend doing that. Your 30x, your 100x pictures will actually come out quite a bit better. I've actually got a few pictures that I'll put in this video as we go through everything, just showing some of the 10x, 30x, etc. So, and some of them aren't actually too bad, honestly, especially, you know, if you're putting these on social media, they'll be fine. So beyond that, you have a 40 megapixel front camera. Some other quick specs, I'm gonna leave it up here over to the side as well, just for reference, but you get 8 gig or 12 gig of RAM, 128, 256, 512, and 1 terabyte options. I recommend the 256 and up because you get the 12 gig of RAM. The 128, you only get the 8 gig of RAM. Probably in most situations it's fine either way, but I always, if you're paying this much for this type of phone, go ahead and get the 12 gig of RAM. It's a 5,000 milliamp battery, so battery's been really good, and I think partially that is also due to the new chipset. It's a Snapdragon Gen 1, and I can notice a little bit of a performance difference over the last generation of Snapdragon chipsets. It's minimal, of course, at this point. All our chipsets in our phones are overpowered for what we do on a day-to-day basis. It's just when you start to get into really heavy things, maybe some video editing from your phone or something, you might notice it then. It's a lot of other things that go into play to make you feel like the phone is faster, from the LTPO panel, which is what helps do the variable refresh rate now all the way down to 1 frame. That's in this phone as well now. I think that's a big thing that makes you feel like you get the additional 120 hertz refresh is faster now. So I think that's a big one. And then of course, just overall performance with Android 12 and One UI 4.1. And last but least, as far as specs real quick, it is a 6.8 inch screen and does have the curvature to the phone, just like the Note series has done for the past several generations, where the other S22s, S22 and S22 Plus, are more of a flat screen. This is kind of preference up to you. The only thing I will say on that I still sometimes don't like is if you're using the S Pen and trying to do a screen capture on your device with the S Pen. If you're getting close to the edge, if you have gestures on, that's where it fights me the most, is gestures will try to activate, and then you'll do a back or a forward or something, and then you won't get your screenshot. But otherwise, it's nice, it looks great. The screen actually even has a new feature that Samsung implemented called Vision Boost. Essentially what Vision Boost is in outdoor lighting, or if you want to manually boost it, you can, but this screen gets very bright. Swipe open settings and then swipe up your brightness all the way, and you will see a big difference in your comparison to your S21 or another model phone. It gets very bright, which is a very nice thing out in direct sunlight. So some of the other features that you're getting with One UI 4.1 is there's this new virtual RAM feature. It essentially allows you to boost your RAM by utilizing storage space. This is a slower type of RAM, but essentially what that does is it allows you to keep more apps open while not having them auto close. Another thing that's similar to the Pixels is more customization on your picker or your background colors, etc., based on the wallpaper you pick. This is something the Pixels implemented with Android 12, and now the other manufacturers or skins, etc., are adding this on and making it more cohesive to what the Pixel line offers. Another thing is the RAW Plus. This is a big one for camera enthusiasts. Now with RAW Plus, you can go into this separate app, but you do have to get it from the Samsung App Store, but full granule access to all the cameras, anything that you would change on a professional DSLR camera, essentially you can do in this RAW Plus. Plus it saves it in RAW format so you can take it into an editor afterwards and color grade it if you want. So much needed options for combating the Apple side of the world. One of the other things that I found that actually worked pretty good, that was another like Pixel experience, is the object eraser. This is just like on the Pixel lines where they've had the eraser for a little bit now. Essentially you go into edit mode and then you can circle around a background object and erase it. It works pretty good on the Samsung phone as well. If you stuck with me this long in the video, you're probably wondering, is the S22 the phone you should be getting? I think this depends a lot on a couple things. Do you have the S21 Ultra? If you do, and don't mind the, let's say, quirks with the S Pen, then there's not a lot in this device to upgrade to. But if you do have the S21 and you didn't like where the pin's placed, or you don't like that there's more of that really feature-rich note experience with the off-screen memos and some of the other features, then that's why I think, coming from a very avid Note fan, why I wanted to upgrade to the S22, because I miss those features on the S21. Otherwise, if you're not a big pen fan or don't really care about some of the other big features with the Ultra, the bigger screen, the curvature to the screen, the extra refresh rate, the S22 and S22 Plus are great, and you definitely can save at least $200 off that compared to the Ultra. These are all great upgrades. All three of them are fantastic. I think never before has Samsung been so close to being a de facto for Android as this generation. Pixel line's great. I really love this true stock Google vision, but there is way more Samsung phones in the world. It's either Apple or it's Samsung most of the time, and this is more of a tight-knit, inclusive family of Samsung phones to drive Android this year. So they're definitely good phones, and you should pick it up. Stay tuned for more on Samsung, because I've got several more videos coming soon about Samsung. Till the next one.